Are you suggesting that someone's trying to make a real-life sequel?
Stab 2? Who'd want to do that? Sequels suck.
No, wow. Come on, man.
Oh, please. By definition alone, they're inferior films.
Bullshit generalization. Many sequels have surpassed their original.
Oh, yeah?
Name one.
I'll be back.
Freedom, you're my older brother, and I love you. But don't ever take sides with anyone against the family you live. Never.
I just can't believe you came here and did it again. You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
Welcome in to Duel of the Greats, Season 4, Episode 9. I'm your host, Steve. We got Brandon on the ones and twos, hosting along with me. We got Jeff, and we got Nate. If you didn't get enough Christmas cheer last week, then guess what? You're lucky, because we got at least half of this episode will be Christmas cheer, full of Christmas cheer. This week in Duel of the Greats, we got Vacation versus Christmas Vacation. If you're new to Duel of the Greats, then, well, I don't know what you're doing, but you've been missing out. But now that you're here, we're happy that you're here, and we'll give you a bit of a refresher. Here in this season, we're doing head-to-head battles between famous movies, but specifically this season, we're doing the original versus the sequel. We've had 8 weeks so far, and it's smack dab in the middle of Christmas season. We're in the spirit. Everyone looks cheery and bright, and seeing lots of smiles. Anyway, how are you guys?
Cheery and bright, apparently.
I am.
Well, I didn't want to say everything
fantastic.
sucks. Because, everything doesn't suck when we're all together digitally.
That's the magic of the Christmas spirit.
But if you look around, the world is on fire. But we're not gonna focus on that. We're gonna try to embrace the joy of the season and look at the beautiful melting snow and see if you guys can convince me that Vacation or Christmas Vacation is better than the other. So I guess we gotta do the socials, huh? If you want to send us an email, you can email us at duelofthegreats@gmail.com. And we will, in all likelihood, read it on the air, or at least respond to it on the air. So feel free to hit us up on that. You can contact us on all the socials except for TikTok at Duel of the Greats. At Duel of the Greats. On TikTok, we are at Duel Podcast. And then my co-hosts like to get on the social media and chat with folk. I don't, but I'm going to let them tell you their handle. So feel free, guys.
I am at the Jeff Report, all one word. Instagram, Blue Sky is where I spend most of Instagram and Blue Sky where I spend most of my time. Yeah, and also I didn't. If you said it, I'm sorry I missed it. But for the email, it's duelofthegreats@gmail.com. I don't know if did you say that? I missed it.
I think I did, but I don't know. It's hard to tell.
You were talking about the emails, but I didn't know. Anyway, regardless, those are my socials.
And I am at Skate Carter. Longtime listeners will know I spend most of my time on TikTok. I'm posting a video a day, and a lot of that gets cross-posted onto Instagram, where I am also at Skate Carter, and then I spend some time on Threads at Skate Carter. Everywhere you would find people on social media, that's what I am.
Very existential of you. That's what you are, not who you are. That's what you are. All right. You know what? I'd say we'll dispense with the preliminaries and just get into this. We got Nate. You're doing the original, the OG National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, right?
Indeed, I am. And
all right. Well, you know what? The floor is yours.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to do something I've never done before in talking about this movie. I'm going to try it. I'm going to see if this pans out. So, Your Honor, may I approach the bench with my fellow counsel, Jeff?
Metaphorically, you may.
Yes. Okay. There is, as I was rewatching these movies, There is a scene in my film, in the original Vacation, that is a deplorably racist, insensitive scene. It's the scene when they go into St. Louis, and if you're familiar with the movie, you know the scene, and you know that it's a very negative image of Black Americans that plays up to very negative stereotypes. I will let you know that the filmmaker Harold Ramis, before he died, openly spoke out against this scene. Said that this was one of the main things he regretted from his entire comedy life was this scene. So I am going to ask. I'm really asking Jeff. Can we debate the merits of these films and make this scene inadmissible in court tonight and not hold this single scene against me?
I would say not make it inadmissible, but I will not use it in my argument. Something that, we can ask the judge, the jury to understand, that it was, for lack of a better term, a product of its time, and that, modern day, everyone involved would hopefully not do the same scene. I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right. I'll accept that's a fair middle ground there. Okay. So with that out of the way, here's my first reason why I think the original Vacation is the better movie. And again, I will start by saying, as we say a lot of weeks in this season, I love both these movies. I love Christmas Vacation. So I'm going to kind of debate this a little bit on the merits of what I think a vacation movie is, which brings me to my first point, that the first Vacation is a vacation movie. In Christmas Vacation, they do not go on a vacation. The very essence of these movies is that the Griswolds have to be traveling somewhere. And this is the best one where they travel somewhere. They literally go across the country and you see them stop in all these different cities. And it's just fantastic. It's a real true road movie. And I think that, in that way, it really embodies the spirit of what these movies are supposed to be, in that the Griswolds are traveling and you're seeing all the complications that come with them traveling in a road movie. Christmas Vacation is great. I just don't think they should have called it Christmas Vacation. Okay, it should have been, National Lampoon's Christmas Holiday or something. But it's not a vacation movie. And so I think if we're talking about these movies and we're talking about them as vacation movies, we really have to respect this first one for being a legitimate vacation road movie.
This argument feels like an intentional misunderstanding of the title of the film, as the term vacation, first of all, doesn't have to mean traveling. But second, is also there just to show that it's yes, thank you, Brandon, putting the staycation in the chat. We're squares and rectangles, right? All staycations are vacations, but not all vacations are staycations. But for Christmas Vacation, the word vacation is mostly put in the title just so that we all know it is in fact part of the Vacation franchise. If we had a movie starring Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, and they weren't actually inside the Matrix, but they still called it the Matrix, you would understand that it's because it's in this franchise and they're having the same characters and they're just trying to show you that it's in the same universe. So, yeah.
Fair points. I don't think that I'm intentionally misunderstanding. I understand that people will sometimes use the phrase Christmas Vacation. I'm talking about in the spirit of the movie, of what we think of as a vacation movie. We typically think of a road movie where somebody is traveling. So that my general point is that this is a road movie where somebody is traveling, and the Griswolds do not travel in Christmas Vacation. And so I kind of feel like the spirit of what the Griswolds are supposed to be doing in these movies gets diminished a little bit in Christmas Vacation. But I digress. I will move to my second point. My second point is that the original Vacation has I thought about making one of these points that, like, one of them is funnier than the other. I couldn't do it. I think both these movies are hysterical. I think both these movies have great quips and one-liners. I do think my favorite is from Vacation when he they're driving. And it's not even in the car, but they're driving. It's like an audio that's clearly recorded in their time. Like, it's the car's pulling away, and they're talking about trying to get to the Grand Canyon. And his wife's like, "Well, how are we gonna know? How are we gonna be able to find it?" And he goes, "Oh, Jesus, Ellen, it's only the biggest goddamn hole in the world." There's just like so many little quips like that. I think that's probably my favorite. I will say this about Vacation, though, the original Vacation. It has this great invention where they go through all these real places. They go to the Grand Canyon, they go to Dodge City, they do all this fun stuff that you're familiar with. But then they have this invention of Wally World, which is a fictional theme park, clearly based on a kind of a Disney World. The Mr. Wally, the guy that comes in, is clearly at the end there a play on Walt Disney himself, and I love that even though it's fictional and it is this invented place, there's something about the fact that it's fictional. There's like a quote about how, like, sometimes fiction can almost speak to a greater truth. And this is kind of what Wally World is to me as a viewer. That Wally World, even maybe if you never went to Disney World, but you went to like Six Flags or something, Wally World serves as sort of this catch-all destination where families go. So no matter where your family traveled when you were growing up, Wally World serves that place, and that it's really brilliant in that way that they didn't do a specific place. I don't think that this would have worked as well if they were actually going to Disneyland in California or Universal Studios in California. The fact that it's a fictional place allows the audience to put their own memory and their own family recollections into this thing. And in a lot of ways, even though it's fictional, it becomes a much more relatable thing to families as they're watching it. So that my second point is the invention of Wally World is just such a cool, unique thing for this movie.
My only rebuttal to that is I wonder how much of that was actually intentional. Did they go to Disney World and say, "Hey, we want to use Disney World in this movie," and Disney World is like, "You make us look like shit. We're not letting you do this." And same with Six Flags. I don't know the answer to that question, but that would be my rebuttal. Is it a choice, or was it something that they did out of necessity?
The only thing I'll speak to that, and I don't know if this is an answer to your question. The screenplay, of course, is written by John Hughes. It is based on a story of his that was published in National Lampoon about a trip to Disneyland, in which Disneyland, with his family in like the late 1950s, where Disneyland is specified. I did not look this up. Somebody can maybe look this up while we're talking. My guess is they didn't even try. My guess is they didn't even actually try to go to Disney, because clearly this is, and this is a little bit of a difference in the films. In terms of being a product of its time. The first Vacation is much more raunchy. It definitely sits a lot more in like that early 80s kind of raunchy comedy. There's more like casual nudity.
I was talking about it with the family. I assumed all the Vacation movies were rated R, but that one's the only one that's rated R. And then Christmas is PG-13, and Vegas Vacation is PG. I guess I didn't look up European Vacation, but yeah, I was surprised at that. But
I
it is
was
definitely
just
the
like,
right
I
choice.
mean, every time I watch it, it's because you kind of think of it as a family comedy. And there's a scene in the first Vacation when it's clearly this play on the movie Psycho, and he sneaks up on his wife in the shower, played by Beverly D'Angelo, and it actually shows her topless. And it's just kind of this very, I mean, not that I personally have an issue with it, but Beverly D'Angelo is a very attractive woman. But it is kind of this jarring thing of like, God damn, I forgot that there was like nudity in this. It's like it's almost something that you forget and you remember when you rewatch it. It's like, God, this is like a really sort of, you know. And I think a lot of this is very early 80s, like a lot of very early 80s. I remember in season 1 when we were talking about 1941, the Spielberg film, we talked about how there was like this very just sort of raunchy culture that even worked its way into movies like that. It's just kind of a weird thing. Um, so again, I digress. Doesn't really have anything to do with any of my arguments, but just it is kind of a difference in the films. I don't know if it makes one better than the other. But my third and I think most important thing is this: these movies have a formula. The vacation movies have a formula, and the formula has to end with Clark Griswold having a crash out. Okay. The premise of all these movies is that Clark Griswold is trying to give his family this perfect family vacation of some kind wherever they're going. And it doesn't work. And then he has to crash out. And he has to go over the top and something has to happen. I think that Vacation speaks more to the, shall I say, the promise of the premise by showing a crash out in which Clark actually has the crash out. He goes, he finds out that Wally World is closed. Moose out front should have told you. He goes, he gets a gun, and then he comes back. He takes the John Candy security guard hostage, and that's a crash out. He has a crash out in Christmas Vacation, but he doesn't go over the top. Cousin Eddie is the one that of his own accord goes and kidnaps the boss and brings him to the house. And it just, when I watch the other vacation movies, Christmas Vacation feels a little empty in regard to, I feel like Clark, it should have worked out a way that Clark was the one doing that, and he's not the one doing that. And so, again, it'll be for the judge to decide if that makes it better or worse, but I think the original Vacation, the Clark crash out is better and is more true to who that character is. That the crash out doesn't get brought to him. He's the one that flips out and he goes and gets the gun. That's the other quip. It's like, no, we're not violent at all. This is our first gun. They take the guy hostage. Ultimately,
the Beverly D'Angelo quips that sort of just sneak in there are some of the best. Like, she's fantastic in that role.
Yeah. I mean, the cast and honestly in all these movies are great. And it's interesting that, the joke is the kids are played by different people in every movie. And I think that I don't know, it seems to work in every movie. And I think it works really well in every movie. And I love that it just sort of keeps the same family dynamic. Like the kids never really get old, which is kind of funny. But I think the Clark crash out in the original is truer to that character than the Clark crash out in Christmas Vacation, where the crash out itself is kind of something that's brought to him and it's not really his own doing.
I'm gonna say that I disagree, and I think you're underselling the crash out in Christmas Vacation, because even though the kidnapping isn't something that Clark does, I would actually argue that if Clark was the one that kidnapped his boss, that would not be true to his character, because we see him at work in Christmas Vacation and we see that he's essentially a little weakling in front of his boss and he just tries to kiss his ass the whole time. So him doing that and jeopardizing his job would probably not be something that he would do. But before we get to that point and we get a crash, I mean, he literally takes a chainsaw and runs through his house, cutting down his banister, going outside in the Jason mask. I mean,
he does crash
out. It's a pretty big crash out in Christmas Vacation as well.
He absolutely crashes out. That's funny because he's like, I'll go talk to her. It's like,
I mean, if your argument
hey,
is
Dad,
that,
and he revs the thing, and he's like, "Good talk, Dad. Good talk."
Yeah. I mean, if the argument is that he has to have a true kidnapping in order for there to be a crash out, then I suppose you win. But
I think that let me be clear. He definitely crashes out in Christmas Vacation. I think that the conclusion of the movie, though, in the original Vacation, is based in a crash out that is his own doing and his own prompting. Whereas Christmas Vacation, ultimately the conclusion of the movie has to happen because Eddie goes and does the kidnapping. If Eddie doesn't go and do that, Clark just has a crash out, and it doesn't conclude the movie in the way that we need the movie to end. Is ultimately what I'm saying. I think it works a little bit better for the plot and the structure of the story in the original Vacation, the way that crash out works.
All right. Thank you. Counselor, would you care to present the argument for Christmas Vacation?
I sure would. Thank you, Your Honor. So my first point is with Christmas Vacation and the fact that it is a central location. The Your first point being, oh, it's a true road movie. And while I will concede that yes, Christmas Vacation is not a road movie, I think the central location of having the house adds some elements to it that you don't quite get with the road movie. Those major ones being some of the side characters get a little bit more time to shine because we don't always have to be moving and heading towards a destination. Like there's always the gag in all the movies about him seeing the attractive woman in the convertible driving along and stuff. And then in the first one, he sees her at the hotel and he goes skinny dipping and then he gets caught. But then they kind of move on from there. And even when it comes to Cousin Eddie and God, I cannot remember his wife's name, that character, but even when it comes to them, they stop by and they say hi to them, but then they're gone and those characters are gone. But with Christmas Vacation, they all get a chance to shine. We get Apex Cousin Eddie in this movie. Okay, morning, Clark. Shitter's full. Like just fantastic. He's wearing the I don't know what you call those hats with the flaps over the ears. He's wearing those. There's the one scene where he's just like they're both like crushing eggnog, and he's got this like white sweater that's see-through. You can see the turtleneck dickie that he's got on underneath. And just like, oh man, there's so much of it. And the scene where they're shopping and Clark convinces them to like, oh, we want to help you out to get some gifts for the kids, and then go ahead and get yourself something too, Clark. Something real nice. Like it's just, oh man. I wish Randy Quaid wasn't a psycho because he's really funny. Anyway, the and then outside of Apex Cousin Eddie, we also get just a bunch of other side characters that get a little bit more chance to breathe than you would have in the other vacation movies. Vegas Vacation maybe being an exception, but the parents all get a little bit more time, and they all have their moments one way or another. The aunt and the uncle that come in, and they with the toupee gets his head. He sets the tree on fire, but most of all, we get a young Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and I'm not sure who the other actor is, but the Todd and Margot characters as the next door neighbors that we keep getting to see them and see those interactions. They're this yuppie couple that's doing all this, sort of hoity-toity stuff, and then they just ruminate over their neighbor being Clark Griswold and all the wacky, zany Clark Griswold type of stuff that he does. And well, where did all this water come from, Todd? I don't know, Marco. Like it's so amazing. And that's something that, because we do have a central location, we get to see those things. We get to allow those things a little bit time to breathe. Whereas in the other movies, there's a little bit more of a sort of forward momentum to a lot of it, and those characters don't get as much time as they do in this one. And I think that's maybe the biggest strength of the Christmas Vacation.
There are certainly, I mean, if we're counting the characters, I think there are more supporting side characters in Christmas Vacation. I don't necessarily agree that the supporting characters don't get time to breathe in Vacation. They see Cousin Eddie, they do that whole thing. They take the Aunt Edna character, and she becomes kind of this very funny supporting character. I'm just cracking up at some of these lines where he's like, at the end, the John Candy character is saying, it's like, has your father ever killed anyone? He's like, oh, no, just a dog. Oh, and my Aunt Edna. He names 2 things that he's killed. Um, I think the Edna character kind of becomes sort of the side character. You've got I just put this together. It's the same guy. It's the Murray brother. The guy that plays the boss in Christmas Vacation is the same guy that plays the little like not I want to say innkeeper, but he's more like a tent keeper, like a campground keeper.
We get a timeout real quick. So you're talking about Brian Doyle Murray.
Yes.
Who here knew, like, and what point did you know that was Bill Murray's brother? I ask because at one point I was watching a movie with my wife. I think it might have been Ghostbusters 2, and he's in that. And then my wife goes, "That guy kind of looks like Bill Murray." And I was like, "Well, yeah, that's his brother." And she's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, you didn't know that?" And she goes, "No." So then, of course, I go to work the next day, and I talk to Steve, and I was like, "Steve, I'm watching this with my wife, and she had no idea that Brian Doyle Murray was Bill Murray's brother." And Steve was like, "Today I learned that Bill Murray has a brother who's also an actor." Did you know this? Did you know that Bill Murray had a brother like this? Like when was this something that you? Because I've known since I was like a kid.
Yeah, I can't recall a time that I didn't know. It's like, well, I'll have to check my diary. Like, I don't know if it's this formative moment of my life where I realized that Brian Doyle Murray. Thank you for reminding me of his name. The Murray brother. Yeah, Brian Doyle Murray is Bill Murray's brother. I just always recalled that they were brothers. I mean, I've certainly known since I was a kid.
There have been so many movies together. You know, he's in at least he's like the Clint Howard to.
Yes,
you know.
yes, to Ron Howard. Yeah, Clint Howard's in all the Ron Howard movies.
Anyway, sorry to derail your
No,
rebuttal,
hang
but I
on,
just wanted to
Whoa. Ron Howard's got a brother that's
you
also
didn't know this? Are you playing it? Are you playing a bit right now?
No. I mean, maybe if I see him, I'll recognize him. But
I mean, this is like the time you didn't watch The Godfather.
Yeah, he looks less like Ron Howard than Brian Doyle
I've
Murray
seen this
does.
guy, but I had no idea.
But yeah, like Clint
he
Howard,
wears glasses. So
Apollo 13
you know, in Apollo 13, it's the bald guy with the black square rim glasses. That's Clint Howard.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. No, didn't know.
There you go.
No idea, actually. None.
Anyway, no, I won't go too far on this point. I just think that, just say, again, there are certainly more supporting characters, but I think you get the Aunt Edna, you get the campground person. You get, of course, John Candy, who we've utilized in winning arguments this season. John Candy as the lowly security guard, the lone security guard at this entire massive.
Moose out front should have told you.
Moose out front. Sorry, folks. Park's closed. Moose out front should have told you. I think that these supporting characters get plenty of room to breathe and plenty of screen time. I don't disagree that there's more supporting characters, and you maybe get to know individual supporting characters a little bit more in Christmas Vacation. Probably come down to a little bit of preference and what our judge thinks, but I think there's supporting characters that certainly have life and characterization to them in the first Vacation movie as well.
And to be clear, I was not arguing that wasn't the case, but just that I felt it was a little bit better in Christmas Vacation. For my second point, for Christmas Vacation, the gag with the lights is, besides being one of the most iconic things in movie history, it's just one of the best gags in the series, and better than any one thing in particular that the original Vacation does. I mean, it sort of strings along through the whole, pun intended, through the whole movie. He finally gets the moment, and it just, everybody gets blinded by it, and it's this huge thing, and it's a beaut, Clark. It's a beaut. I say that all the time, that quote, and it's just like the perfect, because it shows Clark's obsessiveness, but then also shows his perseverance. Because, as you mentioned, Nate, one of the small things that we kind of lose a little bit of with Christmas Vacation not being a road movie is this idea of, Clark's obsession is getting there, especially in Vacation. It's getting to Wally World. There is absolutely nothing that's going to stop us from getting there. And so you don't quite have that as much because the sort of impetus for so much of Clark's issues in the movie is a swimming pool thing, and that's not we're not going to see that in the movie anyway. Um, but the just the fact that he wants to do this with the lights because he wants to make it magical. He wants Christmas to be magical and to look magical and feel that way for everyone that's there. And so having that sort of gag where he thinks he's got it, he doesn't got it. He and his son are putting up the lights, and it's like when they first don't turn on, and his dad's just like, "Well, you got to check them one by one," and then he's like, "We did, didn't we, Russ?" And Russ is just like, "Yeah, Dad, I got some homework to do. I'll see you later." And they move that along through the whole movie, and they finally get it, and um, and then eventually, he's picking and destroying the light up Santa and all that. Like, it's just a fantastic gag that's set up and done perfectly throughout the movie, and I think it's definitely one of the most iconic things in the whole series, probably up there with the quote we just talked about, the Wally world, Moose out front should have told you, that whole deal. But it's just, one, probably for my money, the best in the whole series. Beyond how iconic it is, it's just the best. As far as how it's set up and how it plays out and everything, I think it's just fantastic.
It's a great bit. Again, I don't want to. The judge will decide. I don't want to get too much into like what an individual person is going to find funnier. I think I don't disagree. It's probably the most drawn out bit of either movie. But I think there's equally funny bits in the original Vacation. The whole taking the guard big rides. Where are the big rides? Big rides. Like they're all just like he's holding a gun to him as they're like on this little tiny kiddie ride, like just going in a circle. It's like, where are the big rides? Where are the big rides? I think there's funny. Again, I love both these movies. I think there's funny stuff in both movies. It is a great bit. The Christmas light thing. It's a great bit. It's certainly it is the most drawn out bit in terms of I think you're right that the fact that they're at home allows there to be kind of this set piece, if you will, that they can keep returning to that kind of unfolds over multiple scenes. Whereas Vacation, because they're traveling, some of it is a little bit more limited to the time and place that they're at. Again, that'll come down to preference and what the judge decides, but yeah, it's a great bit. I won't disagree with that.
Right, and for my final point, Christmas Vacation, I think, is better because it's the most heartfelt of all the movies. Now, all the Vacation movies, you mentioned, Nate, a key piece of it, the crash out. 100% necessary part of all the Vacation movies. And then another necessary part that all the movies do have as well is a sort of, I'm not sure exactly what the right word would be, but a sort of resolution that ends up being, rather peaceful. And throughout the movies, there's also some other, some movies where you see, you get a piece of understanding that Clark, as ridiculous as he is and as silly as he is, so much of it is just because he cares, right? The character cares. And I think you get a better insight, a better window into that in Christmas Vacation than the other movies, and more than Vacation. Not to say that it doesn't exist in Vacation, of course, because it does. But we have the attic scene where he's trapped in the attic. He's super cold. By the way, just he's trapped in the attic. He falls through the floor. It's just like, at that point, the ceiling's already destroyed. Just crawl through and go into the room. What are you doing? But it's like he's stuck up there by choice. But he's up there and he finds the old movie and he puts up the projector and he threads the film through and he's watching this and he's brought to tears by how all these memories of Christmas. And you understand, that's what he wants to do. That's what he wants to bring to everyone. And you just don't quite get that little bit of resonance in the original Vacation. The heartfelt end where the because once the Wally World guy comes in vacation, then John Candy is kind of caught up in the moment, and he's talking about the roller coasters and how cool they were and all that stuff. And so the guy, not doesn't press any charges, etc. And then similar scenario happens with the Brian Doyle Murray character, his boss, who decides, oh, I was the asshole for not doing the bonus. I'm going to give you the bonus, and then we get a good resolution there. Um, but I think in addition to that sort of final piece, having that extra moment in the attic scene, plus a very good, pretty touching scene with his own father after everything gets, the squirrel goes through the house and the dog is chasing it and everything is trashed. And he's just like, how did you do it, Dad? I'm trying so hard and I just can't do it. And I always love because I saw growing up, I saw this movie so much on cable that I didn't. I forgot that this was one of the things. But initially, when that conversation begins, he's talking to his dad. He's like, I wanted to put on the best Christmas for everybody. And then his dad goes, "You cocked it up." It's just I was so used to because I own the movie, but just growing up I'd seen that so much, and the first time that Jackie and my wife and I watched it together, we watched it from the DVD, and I just started laughing because I had forgot that was the line. But anyway, but that turns into a pretty touching scene where it's just like, I'm trying so hard. I just want to do it. I want to do it as well as you did. I want to do all this. And then he's like, I didn't do it. I didn't have it all together. I was drunk on Jack Daniels and all this shit. So those other moments there. And I think you get that because you get more of the family involved for a longer period of time because it's the central location. But I just think those little bit of insights that give a little bit more heart to Clark and a little bit more understanding to Clark as a character, I think is what really elevates Christmas Vacation, because there are moments throughout all movies in the series where he is kind of hard to root for as a character because you're just like, nobody would act like this, and that's kind of why it's supposed to be funny. But I think it's easier to overcome those in Christmas Vacation because of these sort of tender moments that we get. And I think that's ultimately a big strength of Christmas Vacation over Vacation.
I'm prepared to proceed with my final argument, if unless Judge has any questions for either of us.
Well, no, yeah, I think you guys have addressed kind of everything I was thinking as we went through it. My usual, how do you think that they dealt with the side characters, the supporting cast? You guys kind of talked about that already, so I'm ready. Bring it on.
Yeah, I think I think my colleague, my co-host, makes really good points. Again, I really enjoy both of these movies. Judge, it will be up to your judgment. I will go back to really what my original point was. I think the basis for these movies is that, and again, admittedly I was being a little bit silly, but I really do sincerely mean that um, there's something about the idea of it being a vacation. There's something about the idea of this being with the Griswolds being on the road and traveling with them that I just think is, and I know it's not some massive franchise or series, but there's 4 films and this is the original one, and I feel like the precedent that it's trying to set, that most of the other films followed suit with, is that they're supposed to be traveling, and the adventure and the experiences are in the journey. And while I think there's certainly benefits to having kind of a home base and having them be at home, I just feel like there is a lot more comedy elements. And honestly, for anyone who's ever traveled with their family, a lot of things that are a little bit more relatable when the family is traveling. And so I just feel very compelled to say that I think it's a vacation movie, and I think that it works better and it is truer to the spirit of what we want the Griswolds to be when they are traveling and moving across the country.
I appreciate the arguments you made. I think you do make some good arguments as well. And I would just say that I think, the fact that it sort of breaks with the formula Christmas Vacation does, um, is what ultimately leads to a lot of its strengths, which is what propels it to be the best in the series, in my opinion. And just, having a little bit more time to breathe for the side characters, giving them a little bit more of that familiarity, that central location, I think allows them to do a few more things that they don't get to do when they have this sort of, when they're sort of tied to having this, forward momentum of getting to a destination. I think when you can remove that, I think it adds a little bit, and I think that's what makes Christmas Vacation so good, given the allows those heartfelt moments to breathe, and those characters to sort of have their own moments, and it enriches the film personally. So that's ultimately why I think Christmas Vacation is better. But I'm in the same boat as you. I love both these movies. They're absolutely hysterical. It's if you don't find these movies funny, then I that stop listening to this show. I don't know what to tell you. Don't stop listening.
We don't want you.
Not everything has to be funny to everybody, but man, I find it hard to believe that somebody would not find at least something in these movies funny.
As part of my, I do this a lot. Part of my kind of general research is kind of to go back. These movies, it's interesting how comedy kind of, I don't know if I want to say evolve, but has maybe a certain staying power that critics at the time don't really understand. These movies didn't exactly get glowing reviews when they came out. I mean, most critics
That's true. Yeah, that's a fair point.
didn't really like. I mean, Roger Ebert, who we've talked about a lot, he did not give a good review for Christmas Vacation, and said that it wasn't very funny. I mean, and so he's just, it's kind of one of those things where it's like he's just wrong. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, even Roger Ebert can just be wrong. I
Yeah.
mean, he's just objectively wrong. I mean, it's impossible not to watch these movies and find some kind of humor in some of the things. So,
And I think if the Raj was still alive today, he would probably admit that he was wrong. Not that he was wrong in the review that he gave, but just that, time and staying power and the audience has told him that he's at least in the minority, if not wrong. So,
Yep.
Yeah. But that's an interesting point. And I think the same thing happened with like Dumb and Dumber. I don't think Dumb and Dumber was reviewed very well when that came out, but it caught on, and
Yeah.
it became this smash, and it's iconic. So it's it is kind of weird that happens a lot with comedy. I feel like comedy and horror movies, and maybe even science fiction to a degree. I mean, we've talked about Blade Runner on the show, and Steve, I know you love, but one of my movies I love as well, The Thing, John Carpenter. Basically all John Carpenter movies.
The Thing got terrible
just
reviews.
destroyed when it came out.
Yeah.
And They Live, John Carpenter, I mean, that movie didn't get very good reviews, but they stood the test of time, and they've lasted. And I've even heard some, I can't think of them exactly, but some funny quotes about John Carpenter and how he views critics and all that. So it's very interesting.
He does not give a shit.
No. Something to the effect of, they're dead now, and I'm still here, and so are my movies. Something to that effect. But, anyway, I think it's decision time.
I think it is decision time, and I think that this was going to be an uphill battle for one of you, and I don't really feel like it was a fair shake. I'm trying to give it a fair shake, but we are doing this in the Christmas season, and that gives Christmas Vacation, I think, a lot of home field advantage. And I appreciate your efforts, Nate. I do. I think the arguments were well thought out and original, but it's December, Christmas Vacation. I've already watched it once this season. I went to a Christmas Vacation pop-up bar on Saturday here in town. It was going to be hard for me to not vote for that anyway. And I think that we just got to go Christmas Vacation. You guys are the jolliest bunch of assholes this side of the nut house. We're going to have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap dance with Danny fucking Kaye.
Danny fucking Kaye. I will just go ahead and tell you, the public and now that we've defended them, I can also state that Christmas Vacation is the superior film, and the public is firmly on the side of Christmas Vacation. We are looking at an 87 to 13% split
Oh,
for Christmas Vacation. The most overwhelming victory statistically
wow.
from our listening public that we have ever had for a movie.
I think this is the first with since Terminator 2 where the sequel is clearly more iconic than the first. Like we had some arguments that could be made for, Godfather Part 2 or
Yeah.
Shrek 2 or something, but Christmas Vacation is clearly the more iconic film, just like Terminator 2 was. Which I guess
think,
brings us to the question that we need to discuss, not necessarily right this second, but is it a better sequel than Terminator 2?
It's not a better movie.
No.
So,
But
but in
Terminator 2 is not better than Godfather Part 2 either.
in terms of bettering the original, I think that and again, now that I'm speaking a little bit more truthfully and I'm not defending a particular movie, I mean, Jeff, you hit the nail on the head. Clark Griswold is a much more sincere figure.
Yeah. The
in
third
this.
point, your third point, Jeff, is really that's the key, I think.
I think I will also say that going back to how I started this entire conversation, not just the scene in question that I brought up at the beginning. There are very, very funny moments in the original Vacation. It very much feels like an early 80s comedy. There is some, not only the, again, deplorably racist scene and depiction, there's just, like I said, the casual nudity that isn't necessary. Clark, I mean, he's flirtatious. Like, I think as an audience, we kind of accept the flirtations. He like almost cheats on his wife.
Yeah.
In the first one. Like, I mean,
it feels icky.
He's kind of an unrepentant asshole in the first movie.
Yeah, like, I
and
mean,
there's no real redeeming qualities.
if he would have jumped in the pool, and like the whole bit is that like the water's really cold and he freaks out because the water's cold. Like, if that wouldn't have happened, like he would have had sex with another woman while he's on a family vacation, like with his family. I mean, it's just there's a lot of stuff like that isn't as forgiving. Whereas he's clearly much more. Again, there's a hysterical scene in Christmas Vacation where he's flirting with the woman at the unmentionables counter. That's very funny, but it's flirtatious in an innocent, funny way. We don't ever get the sense that he's actually going to try to.
Yeah, he's not jumping in the pool with another naked woman. Right. Because that is what happens in Vacation.
And we really do get this sincere feel, the scene with his father. You're absolutely right, Jeff. It just, he's much more dedicated to his family, and you really want to root for him a little bit more. And it's Christmas Vacation. It's still just perfect. And the first Vacation is great, but it feels much more and looks much more like a product of its time.
Yeah, I mean, because we're talking like original Vacation, you're looking at, right around that time, you've got Animal House, Caddyshack, Meatballs, Porky's, Revenge of the Nerds. Yeah, all this stuff where, it's Nate. One of your TikToks that made its way to Instagram that I saw. You can talk about movies that age well and stuff, and you were talking about The Girl Next Door and how the idea of consent and all that stuff. And you look, I mean, the product of that time, Revenge of the Nerds. Like, there is straight up rape in that movie that is just glossed over as funny, and it's just like, oh my God, there is definitely, there was a time period where that kind of stuff was just like, let's just fuck it. Let's just do all this heinous stuff and call it funny. And yeah, I think by the time, we're almost to the 90s by the time they get to Christmas Vacation and people are like, oh, we can't do this anymore. We understand where we're at now a little bit better. So, yeah, I do think, it's always worth understanding the context and time period that movies were made to know, like, just the context of all that sort of stuff. But even still, it feels a little icky.
I mean, I'm on a bit of a losing streak right now, but I mean, I have to go back. I don't have a huge issue. I mean,
I've won
I
6 already, guys.
this
is my best season.
losing.
It's my best season.
This is my worst season. I mean,
having the
I've
season of my
lost
life
this
here.
week. I lost Home Alone versus Home Alone 2. But again, what I'm saying is that I don't really have a huge issue with this. I lost Shrek 2.
I have not had a big. The only person that's had an issue here is Steve. I have not really had an
This
issue with anything
season
else
is more about the movies,
Yeah.
I think, than
than our arguments. Yeah.
And I think Steve has definitely been the biggest baby. I mean, I think that we can all agree on that.
You guys have you've
Which
been
is
wrong.
funny.
You guys have been wrong.
Which is funny
as evidenced
because
by our wonderful viewers who are way smarter than and more, more charismatic and good looking. They're way better than us.
it's funny because
And-
Big Baby is a character in a future movie. Now I won't spoil what the movie is. So if you know, you know. But so we'll be sure to hit on that.
One thing I will say, and I would be remiss to not mention this in this episode. If we're talking about sequels, and I'm just going to throw this out. Not a sizzling hot take, but it's a
simmering.
It's simmering. It's coming to a boil. I believe that the 4th film in this franchise, Vegas Vacation, is it's better than the
Severely
original.
underrated.
It's not as good as Christmas Vacation, but
No.
having just talked about the original Vacation, it's better than the original Vacation, and
I agree.
it's
I
good.
love Vegas Vacation. I love Vegas Vacation.
Put $1 in, I want a car.
Put a
Put
dollar
a
in.
dollar in a car. Put a dollar in a car. And again, having been made even later, it is even further removed from some of those more
It's PG.
problematic.
It's rated PG.
Yeah, it's
Well,
it's much further removed. Yeah,
And what we get with Vegas Vacation is, we were talking about the original Vacation and European as well. It's about going to a destination. What that was an argument you made, and then I'm talking about being in the same place. Well, Vegas Vacation is like put your hands together because they get the trials and tribulations of going somewhere, but then they get to be in Vegas. And cousin Eddie and them have moved to Vegas, so now he gets to be there and he gets to keep showing up. And they get the I can't remember the name of the schmarmy guy that from Yuma. I can't remember where's that, but the guy that befriends him, the older guy. I want to call him Papa Giorgio, but that was Ethan Embry's name. I
was gonna say
I love that name.
his name is Mr. Papa Giorgio. Yeah, that we all remember. It also has.
I agree. I love Vegas Vacation. Definitely the second best in the series.
The casino with all like the rock paper scissors and like it's funny like
what's it called? O'Shea's or something. They're playing war.
They're playing, but like one of them is pick a number. And it's funny because it's like it's in the guy's head. He doesn't write it down at all. So they're just like they're just guessing, and the guy could just make anything up. And then how could you why would you play this game?
And then Wallace Shawn comes in out of nowhere to be the blackjack dealer, and then he gives them the final chip, and he's like, "Buy a bullet and rent a gun." Holy shit.
And that one I quote, like when I'm traveling with my family, we joke all the time. Like I probably utilize of any of the vacation movies, the quote I utilize the most in my own life is the whenever we're like traveling or doing something. It's funny because we have like little children that could not be by themselves. And I was like, how about an alone day where each of us Carters goes off and explores the city? And so like anytime I'm anywhere, I'm like, how about an alone day?
The whole fucking Wayne Newton bit. Wayne Newton comes in.
It's a great, and it's such a great like playing this like asshole version of himself. It's such a great like you wouldn't get a lot of people who'd go for that. It's so it's just perfect. It's great.
Yeah, it's very like and there's actually 5 vacation movies, just to be clear, because they did the reboot.
They did the reboot, yeah.
That's
one,
not, that's about as worth mentioning as much as European Vacation is.
Yeah.
There's actually 6. I've been looking at the Wikipedia.
There's what did we miss?
There's a Christmas Vacation 2.
Starring Chevy Chase and the whole crew?
That's the thing.
Oh yeah, because it's Eddie's. It's his deal. Right?
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's right. Yeah.
I know. I've never seen it.
I've not seen it.
There's also what is this other one?
One
A television spin-off. Oh no, that's it. But then there's a short film that starred some of them called Hotel Hell Vacation. It was released on HomeAway's website, whatever the hell that is, in 2010. I don't know, but it had Clark and Ellen. It was a 14-minute short, premiered as a series of commercials during the Super Bowl. Why? I have no memory of this.
You know, something crazy that I guess this sort of links up a couple different movies from this season. I didn't know this until recently, but Al Pacino and Beverly D'Angelo were together for like 2 decades, and they have multiple kids together. I had no idea.
That's pretty weird.
But they apparently
I
is a
didn't
very
know that.
contentious breakup. Don't believe they're very friendly these days. For what it's worth.
Wow.
That's too bad. You really would have hoped for the state of the world it would have worked out between those two. But
I know.
you know what
It's
can
two
you do?
crazy kids.
Meanwhile, Al Pacino, 83-year-old Al Pacino, just had another kid.
You know, like a toddler. Yeah.
As did Robert De Niro while we're at it. But anyway.
Keep it together,
Anyway.
you old men.
So yeah, is it better than Terminator 2 in terms of, again, not better movie, but is it a better sequel? Here's my final thought on the matter is I don't know that I would say it is, because I consider it more a sort of continuation of the characters than an actual sequel. There's not necessarily any sort of overarching path from one to the next, unlike Terminator 2, where we get a clear, there's a through line there.
Yeah, I can't shake the feeling that Terminator 2 also still, of any of the sequels we've seen, opens and expands the world of the first film, in a way that what's brilliant about Terminator 2 is you can actually go back and appreciate the original Terminator more because of Terminator 2.
I 100% agree.
And
That's what I was gonna say.
Godfather 2 does that a little bit for me, but I still, for the reasons we talked about, wouldn't say that it's like it better in the sense.
Yeah,
This movie doesn't do that. This Christmas Vacation doesn't do that for Vacation. It doesn't make Vacation more fun to go back and watch because of Christmas Vacation. So I still stick with Terminator 2.
Yeah, me too.
And I think of all the movies, maybe even this whole season, but definitely of the ones that we've reviewed so far, Terminator 2 versus Terminator would definitely be the one scenario where I think the vast majority of people, maybe not vast majority, but it would not be unreasonable to think that a majority of people have seen Terminator 2 and not seen Terminator 1 and don't really care to. Nothing against Terminator 1, but just because Terminator 2 was so iconic and they did a good job of sort of recapping the first, you don't really feel like it's necessary to go back and see it. Which kind of piggybacks off the point you just made, but I feel like that's probably one of the most the scenario where that's the most popular, where somebody might have seen the second one but not seen the first.
All right.
So
Well,
that's it. Well,
you guys got anything else to say about Christmas Vacation or anything?
Do you?
Life? I don't think so. Well, actually, I do. There's a Christmas Vacation. It's got one scene that just makes me giggle every time I watch it. And there's not very many movies that make that happen to me. The scene where they're sledding, and he uses the industrial lubricant from his work.
Even Eddie, even cousin Eddie is like, are you sure that's safe, Clark? And one of my most prized collectible possessions is I have a double Funko Pop set of Clark Griswold and cousin Eddie. And cousin Eddie's got the robe that's too short for him, smoking the cigar with the hat with the flaps. It's perfect. But yeah, so, and for those keeping track at home, now we've got that pumps up one for the sequel. So we've got 6 for the original now and 3 for the sequel. Our 3 sequels that have won: Terminator 2, Shrek 2, and now Christmas Vacation.
And there's some heavy hitters coming.
Yeah.
So this is not over by any means.
And next week, now we'll have for the little inside baseball for how we sort of do these seasons. We always have we sort of go through all the topics and we decide what we're going to look at, what are our themes, for the director versus director, or in this case where here's all the list of worthy movies and sequels that would be worth discussing and what we want. And we all we get some vetoes where we say, okay, we don't want to do this one. And then we all kind of get one where it's like, I really want this one in. So we try to accommodate that. So next week is my week for that. And it is Hellraiser versus Hellraiser 2. Hellbound Hellraiser 2. So that, I'm pretty excited, folks. That's going to be a fun one. I don't know
a hard
anybody else-
exit from the Christmas festivities.
Yes, we're taking the first left. We should have, had we thought this through a little bit more, we might have been able to move this up so that we could have posted it around Halloween. But we unfortunately didn't quite get that. But we're going. Yeah, this is a hard.
This will help people hopefully in that weird middle, those few days kind of after Christmas before the New Year, when nobody's doing anything, nobody knows what day it is. It's just kind of a black existential hole. Maybe this will fit well with people. Who knows?
Clive Barker is all about black existential holes and Hellraiser.
It's perfect.
I mean, yeah. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that next week. I'm excited for you guys to see these. Steve's seen them, but I don't think anybody else has.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be watching them for the first time. I'm looking forward to it.
It's wild shit, man. It's wild stuff.
That's
if it's possible to have pre-traumatic stress disorder, then you might have that already.
Okay, all right.
This will definitely be the most graphic of any movies that we've watched, for sure.
Yeah.
With the
I would have
possible
probably
exception
guessed
of like the
that.
Saving Private Ryan opening scene, but that feels different because that's like a war depiction. That's not like, it's not gore for gore's sake, which is Hellraiser is definitely. Yeah. It'll be fun.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas.
You filthy animal. We didn't.
Oh,
There
there
it
it
is.
is. All right. Email us, duelofthegreats@gmail.com. Find us on the socials, I guess, if you really want to. No, you should follow us. All right. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. Hell shall be raised.